Alright, there we go. That's better. Alright, I'm going to show you the settings that I like to use, and the settings that you may want to use are probably going to be a little bit different for you. Once you have your settings dialed in, um, it'll probably improve your gameplay experience quite a bit. You're going to want to test those out in the practice mode, but we're going to go ahead and access settings that I have currently. Alright, now a lot of this in here is just going to be preference, interact prompt style, button hints, etc. Um, main thing is under the controller, I'm going to go ahead and show the settings that I like to use here. I normally go with the advanced look control settings, but without those, what works out pretty well for me is I use the default on the stick layout. Now, the reason I do that is I use my button mapping options under accessibility in the PS4 so that I can use my left trigger button as a jump button, and I just adjust it from within there. I've tried the jumper layout and some of the other game setting layouts, and I just couldn't get one that gave me as much flexibility as far as when it comes time to activate the ultimate and stuff like that, or open up the ping menu. So I like to just stick with the default, and I swap around my X button and my L2 button. I also run L1, L2 swapped, so my L1, L2 is my preferred way to aim and shoot. So for you, you might use the trigger buttons, which is the default. In that case, if you did the same thing, you would swap in the accessibility menu your X button and your L1 button. All right. Now, under the controller settings here, for sensitivity, I like to be able to turn just a little bit faster than the default. I have mine set to very high at 5. The aim down sight sensitivity I have set to very high, and the response curve I like is steady. It just is a nice compromise between the classic response curve and the linear response curve. It seems to work the best for me. You're going to want to try different ones and see what works best for you. The look dead zone, I have mine set to none. You're going to want to experiment with this in the practice mode. Set the lowest look dead zone that you possibly can so that the game will not move on its own. For me, that happens to be the lowest setting that I can get. Movement dead zone I have set to small. Now, under the advanced look controls, we want to take a look at and see what I have in there. I made some adjustments to that just to fine-tune things. My dead zone, I set that quite a bit smaller than what the previous menu would allow me to do. I kept bringing it down until my look started moving on its own, and then I moved it back up 1 or 2 ticks. The outer threshold here, pretty much left that at the default. That determines when you get your maximum turn speed, how far you're going to have to turn with your right stick, left and right, before you reach the maximum speed. If you set this lower, you won't have to move quite as far to reach your maximum speed. You set it higher, you're going to have to go all the way to the end, and you might not even reach the maximum speed. Now, the response curve shown at the bottom right is a graph. Linear would be what we saw on the previous menu, the one that I said I didn't like. You want to have fine movement control for fine aiming with your right stick. So for that, the further that you go to the right, the more fine movement control that you'll have. The further that you go to the left, the more even in your control that you're going to have. Find something that works good for you. I have mine turned down a little bit, so I don't have quite as fine control on the movement, but it's almost set to the point where it's linear. It's kind of a nice compromise between the classic, or not the classic, but the steady and the linear modes from the previous menu. Now, this will work better for you lowering this setting here if you have something like a control freak set on your right joystick so that you can maintain that precise movement control near the center. Target compensation, make sure you have this turned on. Right yaw speed, I have this turned up a little bit to allow me to turn a little bit faster left and right. Same with the pitch speed. You're almost always going to want to have a slightly faster left and right yaw speed than looking up and down. That's going to help you when you're compensating for recoil. If you try to turn your pitch speed up too high, When you're firing an automatic gun and you try to compensate for the recoil, you'll pull it down too far at just the slightest touch. This is what you'll want to play with to find that the best adjustment to compensate for recoil. Turning extra yaw, right? Most of these I left pretty close to just the default with just some minor adjustments. As you can see there, they're pretty close to the default setting. Now the aim down sight turning ramp up delay, I don't want there to be any delay in that. For me personally, I want to control that all myself. Right. So basically what I do with the right stick when I'm turning is what I want to get. That's, you know, my preference. So that should give you a good baseline to start with. I would begin on this page here before you start messing with the advanced look controls. Once you get that tuned in to what you like, you can fine tune it a little bit better using those advanced look controls. Now under video, this is going to be very important here, your field of view. I've played with this up and down quite a bit. I've gone all the way up to the max of 110, and what I found with that was I'm using a PlayStation 4 Pro, and because it has to process more information on screen, it seems like every once in a while there'll be a hiccup or a stutter in the frame rate when you set it too high, and it's also going to make fine adjustments in aiming a little bit more difficult because everything is so much smaller that you're trying to aim at. I think the default on this for the PS4 is 70, on the PS4 Pro is 90, on the PS4 is 70. I would recommend turning it up from there, but make sure you don't turn it up so high where it's too hard to aim or you start to get frame drops. 104 was pretty stable for me, but just from tweaking it up and down a little bit, I found 102 is what was the best for me. Sprint view shake. Now this is something they added for people that are subject to getting, you know, seizures from seeing or get nauseous from seeing the image shaking and moving around. I went ahead and turned mine to minimal because I would like to see, just for better view while I'm moving, being able to look around, scan my eyes across the screen, and try to look to the left and the right for enemies while I'm moving to a new location. Now, audio settings, this is going to actually help you quite a bit here too. This is probably one of the most important things you can do. And you want to have your sound effects turned up, of course, to the max. You want to be able to listen for those footsteps and sounds of enemies. The dialogue volume, set that probably somewhere in the medium. And the music, you can turn this all the way down if you don't want to hear any music at all. But you probably set it pretty low, even if you do want to hear music like I have it here. The default on these is 100, but set it down pretty low so that the music isn't going to be kind of covering up the sounds of enemy movement and footsteps. Now, once you've got your settings set the way that you like them, you're going to want to go into your practice mode, go into training, and you're going to want to test them out. I'm going to show you a couple of drills to do to help you confirm that you have the right settings. All right, first, right from the get-go, you're just going to want to move around and kind of get used to your new settings, see how that feels for you, and make sure that, you know, everything feels right. If anything feels really off right here, you're probably going to want to go back and make some changes.
Inside the territories, you can
right, now you're going to have to go through some of the parts of the tutorial just to get to where we can pick up a weapon. But this would also be a good opportunity right here for you to practice the bunny hop maneuver. So you can do that. To do the bunny hop, you jump, hold slide, tap your reload, and tap. Oh, now I messed it up, so I'm going to cancel that. That way you can keep moving while you're healing up. That can come in handy sometimes. Make you a harder target while you're healing. Alright, we'll go ahead and pick up a weapon. Now, for that vertical adjustment we are talking about, we want to make sure that we can counter recoil. And the gun will have some a pattern that it shoots left and right. The main thing you're looking for here is make sure that you can counter that up and down recoil and keep all of the shots on your target. Alright, so that way you have your up and down sensitivity good. What I like to check for the left and right is make sure I can snap to targets relatively well. So for that, just do a couple of little drills, and if your settings are really far off, it's going to be pretty hard to do this. You see I'm kind of overshooting my target there, so my horizontal sensitivity is probably set too high there. I'm overshooting that target on the right. Now, you're also going to want to warm up for a bit, because if you go into this cold and you're not used to your settings, you're not going to do well. That's just the way it is. All right. But once you're warmed up, if you can hit your shots and you like the way that works, then go ahead and stick with that. So I just made some adjustments on my actual controller itself. So I'm going to just try to take a little while to get used to it, and if it's not working for me, I'll come back in here and make those adjustments. All right, now that's the basic thing. So from here, you don't have to do it at the main menu. You can go ahead and go into your settings, come back into your options, and go ahead and make any adjustments within here while practicing through, doing some drills. Make sure that you can compensate recoil without overcompensating. Make sure you can snap to different targets relatively precisely without, too much correction needed. Oh, I'm out of bullets. And once you're comfortable there, go into a game and give it a try. All right, well, that's it for my recommended settings. I'm going to go ahead and play a game, just get into it. And good luck with your settings. Go ahead and hit me up with a message if you've got any questions or you need any advice or help, either from this stream or the previous one where we talked about the packet loss. I mentioned I made some adjustments to my controller itself. I'm using an Astro C40, and it has an application you install on your computer where you can further refine your response curves on your sticks. I have my left stick set, so it's basically going to give the full movement speed with just the slightest touch, almost like it's digital, where there's almost no analog movement. It does have a very small zone in the very center where I can move slowly, but as soon as I go just a little bit outside of center, it's going to go full speed. That's just going to make me a harder target on the in the game. Also adjusted the left and right triggers so that they have full input with just the slightest touch, because I'm using those for jump. I'm not using those like triggers. And the controller does have trigger stops. Those are also being used as well with the trigger stops. You can also set those in the game menus as well, so that it doesn't have any ramp up to it. All right, well, what do I need to focus on for XP? Let's see. Oh, they could all use some love there at Gibraltar. Eesh. I don't know about that. I think I'll give Bloodhound a little bit of work, just in case I can't be there to select my character.
Follow me if you want to win. Introducing your champion.
I will choose our location for bets.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, let's
I
go
say
for
we
the
land
hot
here.
zone. Should be able to make it right about now.
Bets lies below.
Break off. And it's not good to loot the same spots. All right, Mozambique off to a great start. That's sarcasm. I'll take that one. I think I hear somebody. Oh, that's my teammate, most likely.
First blood.
Now, we got enemies near here. Yep, right there. He's looking for a weapon.
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
Next ring is not close.
Let's explore this way.
Yeah, we got enemies
Enemy
there.
spotted.
Like somebody's already dead and getting respawned in behind us.
Hostile spotted.
Firing.
He's up there.
Contact with target. I have been down.
Alright, you know.
Reloading.
Careful.
Enemy down.
I don't have any health to
Another
use.
enemy down.
Reloading.
Oh, so close. I guess this whole squad is down. I think that was the last guy in their team, too. Most damage, no kills. It's the way it goes sometimes. You go to the hot zone, you're going to have either a really quick game or a really good game. I was actually pretty lucky with the weapons that I got right off the bat there.
Come on, we've got work to do.
Trust nature, then trust yourself.
It's a good day to take out some fools and be back in time for dinner. Got pork chops tonight. Love pork chops.
This is your champion.
Let's land here.
All right, we should be able to make it when it hits about 1100.
Not a good idea for me.
All right. goes.
Prepare for battle.
I can make it a little further, but unfortunately that was not the case. Kiss your mama with that mouth? Okay, I guess I'm supposed to just wait for you to all get a weapon before I pick one up then, huh?
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
Good thing, let me show a little tip for anybody. Here, there's a mute button in the game. You can mute idiots. See how that works? That's awesome.
Yeah, now we're talking. Let's do this.
Helmet here. Level 1.
Yeah, I'll check the other side first.
Was
Here,
a peek here.
he could use that.
Don't be afraid to look at your map. We're spread out a bit.
Thought I heard something. Just in case.
Alternator
Oh, yeah.
here.
Got enemies. He's running.
Reloading. Scanning the area.
Oh. I think I need to get to my team.
I downed a hostile. Reloading. Frag grenade sent.
Kill leader appointed.
The footsteps are like elephant
New kill
stomps.
leader. Soon to be me.
Calling upon nature's strength.
Well, there's one over there.
One minute remains. The ring is close. Arc start set. Took out a hostile.
That's a good kill.
I'm almost dead.
Distance between us. Taking a moment to heal.
Oh, I didn't. I wasn't going to make it.
Hostile close.
I don't think my team is going to help me after that start, that exchange. You get people like that, usually it's just best to just leave the game immediately. You know, that's the first time I've come across that bug I hear people complaining about. This footsteps are too loud. That was incredibly loud. It was like a drum banging in my ears.
Warning. Ring closing.
It was really disorienting too, because it made it really hard to tell where people were coming from. To your left. You don't see him there? I guess not. I mean, when you're looking right at him and you don't see him, maybe you do see him. You're trying to avoid him? That would be smart.
Attention. Delivering care package.
You hear that? There's a care package
It's a
coming
good time
down.
to use that. I guess you didn't see him over there behind the truck. I need to go back to my death box. Hopefully my stuff is still in there. Now the guy backed out.
Get out there and bamboozle.
It was not my time.
Shots fired, and they're hitting me.
Reloading. Knock down the whole squad.
Reloading.
Alright, good. He finished that last one off.
Recharging shields.
Okay, well, could have left me worse off, I guess. Just in case I found something. Now, there was something else. I got 10 rounds. That's not good. Those light rounds, the backpack, shotgun bolt, extended right mag. Let me see if that body shield has more armor than what I'm wearing. Need a haul butt now. You know, I do not even hear the ring. My audio is all messed up.
Come and get your birthday present.
It's alright, the ring is really not going to do anything to me. Yeah, I picked up the wrong thing there. Be light on meds.
There.
Body shield here. Level 1.
Not really gonna help.
Attention. There is a new kill leader.
Keep that. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I'll take it. What do we have?
Helmet here.
Air stabilizer.
Level 1.
Better barrel.
Pass me that sugar.
I could use that. Thank you. Really didn't want to use one of my only 2 packs. Heavy ammo, good. I don't know if that firing I'm hearing is close or far after those audio glitches. It's pretty loud. Yeah, you can hear that firing to the west on the other side of the mountain. Oh, need to go back and help teammate.
Just getting my shields a recharge. Up and down.
Dang, looks like it's just us.
1 minute
best way to
remains.
get there.
The ring is close.
Gonna have to go right. Get around here. That's probably gonna be suicide. We know what happened to her.
Someone's gotta take out
Here,
the
two
new
squads
kill leader.
fighting. This is definitely foolhardy.
All Father, give me sight. In possession of our brethren's banner.
All right, now we have to get to that beacon there. All those enemies between us. Look at the map. And maybe go through the serpentine. They're just down. There's one just up above the respawn beacon.
Use the map as your guide. The ring is moving. Hostile over there.
Kill leader eliminated.
Not sure if I'll make it to that alive. I don't think he sees me. I think he's concerned with running from the ring.
Check it out, care package coming in.
I still don't think he sees me. He's gonna know that we're here as soon as this guy comes in. I'll drop some meds for you. Oh. We should be okay from the ring. Come down to cover, man. Ah, why is she running all the way over there?
Your time is not over yet.
In the future, pay more attention. It'll do you good.
Ran straight to the enemies with no weapons when she could have just planted a health droid there. Oh well.
Standard stock here. Level 2.
Yeah, I did it out in the ring and used meds. Woohoo, I received 50. That means I can maybe buy something. Okay, yeah. So let's see, what is there to buy? We're going to get a pack, I guess. Let's see what it is. White, white, white. Well, that was 1/3 right. Stim distance traveled. That's a long way to go with... Oh, okay. Yeah. Stim distance with octane. I thought while I was using a health stim. Like, I don't think I can bunny hop that much. So be right back. Cancel that. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream.